Welcome to the Nothing But Net podcast. I'm Dave Rudin, ready to recap another interesting week of FCAC boys basketball. And joining me, as always, is Coach Mike Walsh. Mike, how you doing today?
Good. I'm looking forward to the podcast again. I always do. I had an exciting time watching a lot of good games over the weekend, over the week, and glad to discuss them with you.
All right. Well, I know you were cheating on your grandson's game yesterday and getting on your phone to watch the game we're going to talk about first. And that's Ridgefield with a big 62-57 home win over number 3 Windsor. I've been saying all along, Ridgefield's the team to beat, and I'm just still trying to figure out. I think there's a gap between Ridgefield and the rest of the field, and I can't tell how big it is. I looked at the box score, but you watched some of the games, so tell me what some of your impressions were.
Well, first of all, I agree with you. I think that Ridgefield showed a lot in the game against Windsor. Windsor was a quick, physical, athletic team, and I got a text from Coach Andrew saying that it was a big boys game, and it was a big boys game. Kids were playing hard, and both teams went at each other. I even thought the officiating was pretty good, and it was back and forth. And at the end, Ridgefield pulled it away, and that was everybody contributed on Ridgefield. I thought they got behind a couple times, but they came back, and then at the end, when it was crunch time, they made the shots. They made some foul shots, and they made some stops on the other end. It was a great game for Ridgefield, I thought, and I think that it showed me, and probably you too, that they're the team to beat, and there's no question about that.
Yeah, I've been saying that all along, and what you pointed out is something I noticed from the box score, and I'm sure this made Drew happy. 6 guys scoring at least 7 points, with Nick Skenga leading the way with 17, going 8 for 10 from the line. Ridgefield hit 9 threes. When they're hitting threes like that, they're dangerous. I got to believe with them hitting from the perimeter, that opened things up for Skenga. And excuse me, Spikowski came off the bench, their other big guy, and scored 9 points. If they're hitting threes with their size inside, like I said, you look at a game like this, and when Ridgefield plays like this, I don't know that there's another team in the league that's going to be able to handle them.
Well, let me say this. Obviously, Nick played a great game for Ridgefield and had his 17 points, 8 for 10. Even made a 3-pointer, by the way, in that game. But I really thought one of the other keys was Alex Hickey. He played a really good game, especially in the second half. I think he ended up with, only 13 points, but he hit 4 big threes in that game, or 3 big threes. And it came at crucial times. I think also, obviously, that Alistair Walsh, he didn't try to force things. He set people up. He got the ball inside the Senga and beat, and I think that he did a great job. Andrew got some contributions from several people that I think going forward are going to make them the team to beat.
Yeah, there's nobody who can match their depth, and when they play like this, quality depth. And for those of you hoping for a Ridgefield-Windsor rematch, we live in Connecticut, which means that Windsor's the number 3 team in the state, but they're playing in Division 2 because we live in Connecticut.
How Windsor is in Division 2 is a mystery to everybody except the boys basketball committee. You got Greenwich and Fairfield and people like Prep in Division 1, and Windsor's in 2.
We promised before we weren't going to get set off on this. We were just making up that. We're going to do a special podcast for everybody, a bonus podcast with issues we have to address, but that's definitely one. But I thought we would make note of that. And why don't we move along to the game I was at, and probably the biggest game of the week. And a team I saw twice, and I know we're high on is Trumbull, which split two big games. They had to go back to back Thursday and Friday. Thursday with Danbury because the Hatters, because of the weather, their school was closed for 2 days. Let's start with Friday's game first, and then backtrack. Fairfield Ward and Trumbull are the two teams that have probably generated the most buzz early season outside of Ridgefield being the favorite. And a pretty good game at the stable on Friday, and Ward was able to hold on for a 68-64 win. It was Ward never led by more than 7 and only led by 7 briefly. They kept a 2 to 6 point lead. Trumbull kept making runs to get within a possession, but they never were able to take the lead, including a couple of excuse me, a couple of late shots in the last minute where they had the opportunity. But you watched some of the game before I get some of my player opinions. What did you think?
I watched a lot of that game because I was really interested. I thought the several keys in that game. First of all, let's start with the fact that Trumbull was playing without probably the glue to their team. I think a guy who rebounds, he scores, makes the good passes, he plays good defense, and Owen Bull. And as you told me afterwards, Owen was receiving an award for
there was a national soccer awards in California. I know a couple of FCIC athletes were there, and so he was off getting his award. And I'll let you continue because I agree with everything you're saying.
So I think you have to take Trumbull's game with a little bit of grain of salt. I think whether you have him there, it might be a different game. And I'm not taking anything away from Ward. I thought they played well. They played hard. The kid Kramer, made some big shots inside. And they had actually 3 or 4 kids who hit threes for him. So that, they made the baskets they had to make. Trumbull came a couple times down 3 and had opportunities. I think they didn't make the shots that could have really turned the game into a nail biter in the last couple seconds. Well, let's give credit to the kids on Trumbull. They played hard, and especially Johnston. I think Johnston had a great game. I don't know. You know how many he scored?
25.
But
He
25. That's. I thought they lost it though on the free throw line too. They were 12 out of 24 or something like that. You can't shoot that. Yeah, you can't shoot that percentage from the free throw line, and on somebody else's court and expect to win. Whereas Ward made some big free throws down the stretch. 2 things that I saw in that game. Number one, I thought Ward ran excellent offense, and they ended up getting good shots. And Trumbull, I think they're just developing their offense, and the fact that they didn't have Bull, I thought their offense was a little bit out of sync, and I think that cost them. Now, if they tomorrow played a game, and I think it would more so at the end of the season, if the 2 teams play, I'd still give Trumbull the edge. But I wouldn't discount Ward because I think that they, especially on their home court, can be a real tough team, give anybody trouble.
Yeah, after seeing Trumbull twice in 24 hours, I'm putting them as a solid number 2 in the league. Not to discredit anything at all. Fairfield Ward played the team that was facing them on the court and beat them. And with Tustin did a good job. But Bull is just the glue, and everything kind of revolves around him. And they have 4 or 5 guys that can lead the team in scoring on any night. But missing Bull was just impacted the team a lot. And they're one of the few teams that have the depth that could, with Ridgefield on a neutral court, at least would be able to bring some guys off the bench in a year where most teams are lacking for bench strength. Another, and just to, I'll get to him when we get to the previous game, but the guy for Ward who really stood out to me was Kramer, who scored 17 points. Not sure how many rebounds he had, there aren't a lot of, real true post players. And I like about him, excuse me, is he does a little bit of everything. He scores, he rebounds. He's a good passer too. The ball goes into him. He'll give it to somebody else. Plays good defense. He's the one real minute guy who got a lot of minutes last year back, and I'm high on Kramer. They got a bunch of young outside shooters and streaky. That you get two really nice threes, you get two misses. Players like Moore, Egan, they're good up and coming players. I think they need to get a little bit more experience, but yeah, I think Ward is definitely is a possible top four. Get to play. Well, they're going to get to play their quarterfinal at home anyhow, so it doesn't matter where they're.
Well, that's
But
an advantage. So
yeah,
let's give
that's a huge advantage. But
let's give
I think they're a solid top four team.
no, let's give credit to Justin Henry, who's taken over for Ryan Swaller. I mean, obviously Ryan for years did a great job at Ward and the stable, and this year Justin's taken over, and I think he's doing an excellent job with that team, developing the younger kids and relying around Kramer to be kind of a leader. Kramer's a little bit of a almost Jack Fletcher type kid. He's a glue for the Ward team, and I think going forward that they're going to be one of the top four teams also.
Yeah, I like them. Well, I'm going to put them as number 4 or 5 right now, and I know we talked because we have the same top 5 before, but just to backtrack also because another player that is a player to watch. And that goes the day before. They real impressive 58-38 win over a Danbury team that didn't get to practice for 2 days, and it was a tough circumstance for them. But they have a sophomore, Sean Wilson, who scored 10 points. And Trumbull had 6 guys between 7 and 12. They're a lot like Ridgefield in terms of scoring from a lot of different people. But what really impressed me with Wilson, he's only a sophomore, is he's an excellent defensive player. And they had him most of the time on Cam Perkins. And he did a great job of denying Perkins the ball. And Cam only finished with 10 points. And it wasn't because he was missing shots. They just couldn't get him the ball a lot. Trumbull played really good team defense, good weak side help. But Wilson... He told me that he asked Coach Buddy Bray before the season that he wanted to guard Perkins. So I mean that's something for I don't know. Did you ever have any of your players with all the ones you had that told you before the start of the season they wanted to guard somebody else whenever they played them?
No, well, I'll tell you. I mean, that shows a little bit of confidence, I guess. And he did a great job on him. But like you say, the Trumbull defense that night was excellent. The help side defense, and when Cam did get the ball, there was always a guy who was going to help out if he tried to drive. So Sean deserves a lot of credit, but the whole team deserved a lot of credit for that defensive situation against a really Danbury team that's kind of finding itself a little bit. They bounced back, I think, the next night or against, I think it was Ludlow. But they got the win. That was a good comeback win for them.
Yeah, they bounced back there. They're still trying to develop shot selection and trying to find some players outside of Cam and Nez Perkins to kind of step up for them. And they're a little bit of a work in progress. I think a definite top 8 team. Cam Perkins is definitely player of the year type candidate. Danbury will be fine. And
I was just going to say that I think that we talk about Trumbull having to develop, Ward having to develop. Danbury does too, because they lost a couple of really good players, and the guys that are not playing have to buy into what Coach Bach wants them to do. And I think that Casey, by the end of the year, will have him where he wants him. So, like you say, they're going to be a definitely top 8 team. And they'll be maybe a force to reckon with anytime you have a kid like Cam Perkins on the team.
Now we're seeing, as we'll get to after, a lot of teams with a dynamic player that has made a difference. But before we go there, if Trumbull's our number 2, I think we're in agreement right now that Stanford is our number 3 team, and they're coming off a couple of good wins this week and just getting a lot of balanced scoring. Again, playing without JJ Salvatore, but again, EJ Presley, Winchester, they scored 18 and 17 respectively in a 63-46 win over Central a couple of days after they beat McMahon.
Yeah, Stanford has the potential to be, I think, one of the top 4 teams. I think right now you have them rated a little bit higher than I do. I think they're going to come on. They're going to need J.J. Salvatore to be a big part. I understand from what you told me that he had his tonsils out and then developed a sinus infection, and he's only played 2 games. Hopefully he gets back healthy, and if he does, I think they're going to be pretty solid, and certainly one of the top teams in the league. Especially, I think, again, with the coaching as the season goes on, I'm sure that Dan Latour, their coach, is going to be able to get them to the point where they're going to be at their peak when they hit the tough teams and also the playoffs. I think they had another kid who I saw play. I thought he did a pretty good job. Ryan
Connor.
I forget his last name, but I think he had
Ryan Connors has been doing a good job for them.
Yeah, and he's going to be key because obviously people are going to try and stop EJ and Winchester and Salvatore when he gets back. So Ryan is going to have to be a big part of it. And he does have a couple of kids that come off the bench and size, and they can rebound. Stanford has the potential, who knows, to be maybe win the whole thing. But we'll see as the season goes on how they progress.
I don't have them rated higher than you. We both said, you told me yesterday you agreed they were we'd have them ranked 3rd right now in the league if we did.
I thought you said 3rd. I don't know. I had them.
Okay. Well, I thought you said yesterday you had them 3rd also, but.
I kind of have Ward maybe a little ahead of them right now, but
Okay.
that's only because Salvatore's been out and they really haven't played anybody yet.
That was the point I was just going to make, is they really haven't been tested yet, so we don't know how they'll do in a big game, and we'll get a look at that on Friday. I'll get a look at Stanford for the first time Friday night when they play the team that I think we agree is in the 4th or 5th category right now, and that potentially could be higher than that in my view, and that's Staples, which won another 2 games this week. They started off with the win at New Canaan. It was kind of an ugly, sloppy defensive battle, and then Friday night, the team that upset them last year, Brian McMahon. Staples was down 5 points after the first quarter, and then really turned it on, led by the trio of Sam Clacko, Adam Udell, Mason Tobias, 67-52 win. And Clacko, who we've been hyping up, and rightfully so, excuse me, with his best performance of the year, 26 points on 9 of 13 shooting, 7 assists, 7 rebounds. And, we got Staples as sort of a 4-5 team right now, but these 3 guys, if they get the support, I could see Staples, being a 2-3 type team by the end of the year.
Well, I don't disagree with you. I think the 2 wins they had this week were against 2 teams that are struggling a little bit. New Canaan plays excellent defense. In fact, they gave Sam Clark a little bit of trouble, but they have to get their offense in gear. Right now, their offense is not, what it takes to be a playoff team. Maybe Dan can get them in that direction, but it's going to be difficult. The thing about the Staples is that to go and play at New Canaan after coming off a tough Ridgefield loss, I think they had to grind that game out, and they did grind it out, and they got the win, and that was the most important thing. Now, to come back against McMahon, they may have been down after the first quarter, but if I was a gambler, I would bet on Staples toward the end of the game, and it certainly turned out that way. And Sam had a great game, but Sam is, I think I read your article where he feels he has to. Carry the team. I don't think he does. I think if we can get score, if he can get scoring off of Adam Udall and Tobias and more balanced scoring, I think that Staples then can be one of the top 5 teams. And that's what's going to be the key. Can David, the coach, get them to understand that? And I think, that's going to be the job for Staples. Now, Staples will find out a lot about, because talking about Ridgefield playing Windsor, Staples is playing Monday night against St. Bernard's of Uncasville, who's another top 10 team. And I think that's great for Staples because they got a chance to play a team that, is really good. And it's going to help.
Rematch the last year's Division II state championship.
Absolutely, but I think it's good for them because no matter what happens in that game, I think they're going to be able to, get better.
Yeah, as Dave builds the program up and the team plays well, it's good to see he'll keep scheduling up games, which is that's the kind of game that that they'll really benefit from. So I'm interested to see that. The guy Adam Udall, I told you he really impressed me against Ridgefield, and he went 10, 7 assists, 7 rebounds against McMahon. He's been every time that almost, I bet you that's pretty close to his season averages. And if Udall keeps playing like that, I'm really high on Udall. Tobias at 15. Like I said, Staples right now is top 4 or 5 team, but I'm kind of interested to see where they go. They could end up being top 2 or 3 team by the end of the season. The pieces are there, and I agree with you. A lot's going to depend on if these 3 guys are given, how the rest of the team does behind.
Well, that's certainly true, and let's not forget that they did play Ridgefield and only lost by 2 points. And Sam Clarko, as you said, had the worst shooting night of his career. I think he was 0 for 10 or something from 3. But that's not going to be an occurrence next time they play. And so you have to give them a chance to be in that top 2 or 3. But it's going to be interesting to see how they develop the rest of the year.
Let's kind of bounce over and. Team that's undefeated in league play that I don't think anybody expected to be undefeated in league play and is making a big impression, and I'll get to see them Tuesday for the first time. That's Norwalk, which went 2-0 and beat New Canaan and beat Wilton. Came up with a 55-53 win over Wilton that is probably their first big quality win of the year. And we talk about Jaylen Brown, and deservedly so. He went for 28 against Wilton, including 12 points in the 4th quarter. And I think last year it was kind of hard and for Jaylen Brown to carry the team. Number one, just because of the complexion of the rest of the league. And he really had to do it himself. But the Wilton game, they got a 3-point shooter on the team named Kamani Jordan, who I don't know much about, but he hit 5 threes in that game. And if you got somebody else who who can do some scoring with Jalen, that's going to make Norwalk all the more effective. And we're seeing with guys like TJ Wright at St. Joseph, and the kid Will Sapone at Darien, who's off to a good start. One really good scorer this year is making more impact than usual.
Well, let's first of all talk about the Wilton game. Jalen Brown hit 2 threes when they were down in the fourth quarter, one with 35-second clock running out from downtown Wilton. They banged it, and the next time was almost just as far away. I mean, he hit 2 long 3s. He just comes up with some clutch shots, and he understands the game. And I would venture to say that he set up to get a player who had the 5 3-point shots because they were all trying to stop Jalen. But look, when you have a kid like that, you can beat anybody. And, and they did. They beat Wilton. And it'll be interesting to see how they do the rest of the week. You're going to see them, you said on Tuesday?
They're going to play. They play at Staples Tuesday. So I'm looking forward to. I'm actually going to Norwalk tomorrow morning to interview Jalen for a story, and it's cool to see Norwalk playing well. The Norwalk's got a great tradition. We remember all the Ray Barry teams, and they've kind of been up and down the past few years, but it's kind of fun to see a buzz going on in Norwalk again. And Jalen Brown's just been incredible. He was incredible last year and had to do it alone. And like I said, if he's going to get support, Norwalk's going to be a dangerous team. We could have with the Jalen Brown Sam Clacko shootout at Staples Tuesday night.
Well, it should be interesting. It'll be a great game to see. And I'm sure that both teams are looking forward to it. And again, Norwalk, it's going to be a test for them when they play Staples. I'm surprised Staples is playing back-to-back, though, against St. Bernard's and then coming back against Norwalk. It's going to be a tough game.
Probably the only way they could have scheduled the game, I'm guessing.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, but it's going to be tough. That makes it tougher on Staples. So Norwalk has a pretty good opportunity there. But we'll see. I don't. Where's the game, at Staples or Norwalk?
It's at Staples.
That's a big advantage right there. Well, so I think Jalen's probably going to get his 20-something, and Flacco will do the same, and it should be an interesting game. It's going to be the other guys decide who's going to win. Wilton, on the other hand, we brought Wilton up. I know Joel was really high in the team to start with, and they still have to prove what kind of team they are. They're developing, but boy, they lost a tough game to Norwalk, and they almost lost a tough game to
Darien.
the Darien.
Yeah,
and
70-69. They were down going into the fourth quarter. That was actually their first league win after 2 losses.
Well, I mean, I didn't see the game at all, but evidently the scorer for Wilton, for Darien, Will Sapien, it's a pretty good shooter, and they have some pretty.
He scored 35 that night, so another guy to keep an eye on.
Yeah, definitely, and from what I understand,
I know you did. I know you did your background on him after I brought him up. You did your search on him.
No, I know that from talking to people that he's an excellent shooter. He's 6'3". He's got good size, and Darien has some players around him, and they're kind of like some football players, tough kids, and hey, they could beat anybody. I think the battle for seeds 8 and maybe 7 and 8 is going to really come down. It's going to be exciting, and I'm not saying that the rest of the teams don't have a chance. But, I think that with Jalen Brown and Norwalk and with, what's his name, TJ Wright at St. Joe's, there's going to be a lot of scoring going on. It's going to be the defense that'll probably win it. But
I didn't even think of this. I have to see when St. Joseph plays Norwalk. We should. That's gonna be like that might be like an NBA All-Star game with Brown and Wright going at it there.
Well, I don't know. The NBA, nobody plays defense anymore anyway. So hopefully our guys play a little bit more defense in the FCA. But the other team that we haven't mentioned, and they had a tough one the other night against Danbury, was Ludlow. They actually were down 1 point to Danbury at halftime. And then Danbury just wore them down, and both the Perkins scored, and my man TJ Mahoney, he had 17, but he didn't get a lot of help. But Ludlow can beat teams like the teams we're just talking about, St. Joe's and Norwalk, and they could sneak in at number 8 too. So they're an interesting team to watch because they're well coached by John Daly.
Yeah, that'll be one of the stories we'll definitely be following second half of the season. I think there is going to be a big race. I mean, we've only played 3 games, and we still have just 4 teams left unbeaten in league play, and we have 4 teams that have yet to win a game. So we're starting to see a little separation from the bottom pack, maybe like an iceberg breaking off a little bit. And it's there's a lot there haven't been a lot of really big games so far, with too many of the top 5 teams, Trumbull Ward and Ridgefield and Staples last week. So I think we're going to have a real second half of the season. We said it would take a week and a half to try to start getting a feel for the league, and I think we have a little bit of a general feel, but I think we're going to see a mass everybody beating everybody for a while. It's going to be interesting to see the second, third, the fourth place teams, how many losses they end up with. Is there going to be anybody out of that group that emerges and only loses a couple of games? It's kind of hard to see that right now.
Well, I just think that, and I don't, root for any one team, but Trumbull, I think if they get, obviously Bull is coming back from his award, and, they blend their offense and run their offense and continue playing defense, I think they're the number 2 team right now, with a chance to beat Ridgefield. I don't know when they play, but that should be a good game. And I'm not looking forward to any that particular game as being the most important game, but I think they have a chance. But after watching Ridgefield battle Windsor last night and having seen them play Notre Dame at Fairfield, those are 2 top 10 teams, and they played them before sellout crowds. It was packed last night, Saturday, and to come away the way they did with victories against those 2 teams, that's got to help them as they go forward into the FCX and into the tough games that they have to play to get to the playoffs. I mean, I'm not handing them the trophy right away, but again, for about the 6th time in 7 years, they're going to be the team to beat. I don't know. I'm right on that math. I know it's 5 out of 6, right? Is that right? You know that.
I mean, I kind of put an asterisk on the COVID year just because it wasn't
right.
a conventional season. But I'm looking at last year's league standings, and remember now it was a 3-team race, and you had Ridgefield going 14-1 in the league, Ward 13-2, Danbury was 12-3, and then after that, you had a drop off with 5, 6, 7 wins. A lot of teams just a little over 500. Are we going to have that team, assuming Ridgefield, which I think is a safe assumption, is probably at most going to lose a game or 2. Are we going to have another team or 2 that emerges that only loses 2 or 3 games, or is it that close up top where we're going to see the next best teams maybe having 3, 4 losses?
Yeah, no, look, it's a long season, and by the end of the season, I would say that Ridgefield may be the team to beat, but they can be beat, and I said Trumbull is a possibility. Ward, if they shoot well, can do it. And the sleeper really is, in my opinion, Stanford High. If Stanford High, with their athleticism, if they can come together for Coach Latour and be the best they can be, they have a shot of beating a team like Ridgefield. But it's a long season, and like you said, I mean, I wouldn't have picked Staples to win it last year. I mean, to get to the finals, and they did. And I eventually lost to Danbury, who I'm not discounting this year either. So it's going to be fun as we go forward to see, and not only the teams, but also these individual players that carry their teams. Ridgefield has a blend of size, and they have a blend of guards that play together. And then Trumbull has the same thing, the kind of mixture. But a team like Staples, they have Sam Flacco, who's obviously one of the best players in the league. Norwalk has a Jalen Brown. Danbury has a Cam Perkins. On any given night, you can't stop those guys, and they could beat a team. And that's going to be the key as the season goes on, I think.
I think the question for me is I'm high on real high on Trumbull after seeing them. Is Ridgefield a runaway train or not? I see the possibility they could be. I'm not saying they are now, but we'll see what happens. But let's call it right now and reconvene next week. We got like I said, I'll be watching Staples a couple of times. Looking forward to seeing Norwalk and Stanford for the first time. And we'll have plenty to talk about as always. So, Mike, thanks again. And I'd say have a good week, but I know we'll be talking 4 or 5 times.
No, I'm looking forward to the week myself.
I don't have any. Well, Staples is short for me. Stanford, I'll have like a 25 minute ride home for you to help carry me.
Well, we can talk in the morning then. No problem.
All right. Well, that's this week's episode of Nothing But Net. Again, I want to thank my co-host, Mike Walsh. I want to thank Cooper Boardman for the sound editing. And I want to apologize to everybody for the nonstop cough. And we're going to get this hopefully cured sometime soon. Have a good week, and we'll see you again.